This is the Mahabharata podcast, episode 2, The Origins. The epic begins as follows. The bard Ugrasravas, the son of Lomarshana, singer of ancient lore, once came into the Naimisha forest, where the seers of strict vows were sitting together at the 12-year rite of Shanaka. Courteously he bowed, and when the son of the bard reached the hermitage, all the hermits who lived in the Naimisha forest crowded around him to hear tales of wonder. Thus opens the great book Mahabharata. In a sense, the entire narrative is a gigantic cycle. The story actually begins at the end of the tale. In this opening scene, it is many years after the great war at Kurukshetra. All the heroes in the story are long dead, and the ruling king is the great-grandson of the famous Pandava Arjun. The setting for this opening scene is in a forest gathering of holy men who are visited by the storyteller Ugrasravas. These hermits had been busy with the 12-year ritual and must have been hungry for news, so they asked the storyteller where he's been. He replied that he came from a snake sacrifice being carried out by King Janamejaya, where he heard the tale of the Mahabharata. King Janamejaya is that very same great-grandson of one of the heroes of our story, Arjun. One of the reasons the Mahabharata is so long is that it's always concerned with the origins of things. So the beginning of the story is about the origin of the story itself. Since the story was created after the events actually happened, we must begin at the end of those events to see how the story was first told. We now know that Ugrasravas told it to the hermits in the Naimisha forest, but we need to know more. Who composed it? When was it composed? How did it come to be recited at a snake sacrifice? Finally, why was the king having a snake sacrifice? Believe it or not, the story goes even deeper back into time and tells us about the snake's ancestors. Since this is mostly a list of genealogies, we'll leave that for the unabridged version. Suffice it to say that long after the Great War was over, Arjun's grandson, King Parikshit, was off hunting and encountered a holy man observing a vow of silence. Parikshit was annoyed that this hermit would not speak to him, so he perversely laid a dead snake across the hermit's shoulders. When the holy man's son found out about it, he cursed the king and told him that he would die of snakebite. To be cursed by a holy man is no small thing, so King Parikshit obsessed about snakes, killing them when he could and always keeping them away. The king of the snakes, named Takshaka, set out to fulfill the curse and disguised himself as a worm and an apple, which was offered to the king. The king made a joke of the worm and offered it his neck to bite, and the worm wasted no time in turning back into a snake and killing the king. Thus Parikshit's son, Janamejaya, had a grudge against snakes. Eventually, Janamejaya arranges for a great snake roundup and has them thrown into a fire. It was during these festivities that our storyteller Ugrasravas hears the complete telling of the Mahabharata in the presence of its composer, the great sage Vyasa himself. If this seems complicated right now, don't worry about it. This story is just one big loop, so we'll revisit this opening scene when we get to the end of the story. And by then, all of these characters will be like old friends. So we'll press on with the main story and get back to this in a couple of years, okay? In the next episode, the famous sage Vyasa will have his student Vaisampayana begin the telling of the Mahabharata. We'll see how Satyavati was born of a fish, and how Vyasa was conceived, born, and grew up in a single day on an island in the Yamuna River. Thanks for listening.